Hi guys, and welcome to Scott Makes MOCs. I want to start this video by thanking everyone out there in the fan community who has just received my Mario Kart Rollercoaster so well. I appreciate all of your comments on the Facebook groups and here on YouTube. It's just so awesome to hear how much you guys are loving this thing as much as I am. You know, in the process of building this, I looked online through YouTube videos and on fan groups to try to solve problems and work my way through some of the challenges that I had while building it. So this video is going to be a kind of a behind the build video where I'm going to address a lot of the questions that people have been asking me in various forms online. Mainly I'm going to talk about the motorization, how I made the different movements work, how I used the Bluetooth hub to control the dispatch of the roller coaster. I'm also going to share a lot of photos of the building and just give you guys a few tips and a few things that I ran across, as this was my first custom roller coaster. It was my first major mock of this size, and I learned a lot along the way. So anything that I know that might be able to help you in your mock, I want to share that. So let's get started. Now, I started the process of building the roller coaster by just laying out the track. Here in these few pictures here, you can see I've already built Bowser's Castle, or at least started, but this is mostly just track pieces and a lot of supports going straight up into the air just to get the track layout right. If you're trying to build a roller coaster, start with this. You have to make sure that your cars can go all the way around, that they have enough momentum to make it all the way through the track, and that the motorization of your lift hill works. So I highly encourage you to start with the track layout before you get into a lot of the details. If you're building your new roller coaster layout, here's a really simple trick that helped me a lot as I kept moving pieces and supports. I made these two custom spacers so that I knew exactly how much space went between the supports. There's 14 studs in between the supports on the length of like a lift curve, a quick drop piece, or a long straight. They're all the same. So using this, I could know exactly how much space went in between the supports. I also built this specifically for the curves, which is kind of some weird spacing when you're trying to figure out where the next support should go. This helped me to know exactly where to drop the supports so that they would be in the right place, especially as you get a lot higher. Just putting a lot of like sticks in the air. Sometimes if they come off the base plate, you're trying to get it exactly vertical. It can be a bit of a challenge. Now, after I got the track layout going, I started to build everything up and build elements to add in. As you can see, I used a lot of Duplo to get my height of the big mountain, and then started adding some of my big elements. Like here you can see I added the airship in, and also the end of the level castle. As I was building certain things that the train was going to go through, I would do that. Here you can see I'm building up the tunnel to make sure that it clears the tunnel and goes through the tunnel. And then gradually I started adding more of the groundwork, more of the levels. Now here you can see the front drop hill. One of the things I tried to do consistently was eliminate all of the supports to try to have stuff that's part of the environment actually supporting up the track. And so I did so in this case by adding the castle extension, which looks like an element in the land, but it holds up the track right front and center. One of the most common questions that people have been asking me is about the motorized elements and how I work those into the coaster. So let's take some time and look at those now. Okay, so let's take a look at the unglamorous backside of the Mario Kart coaster. As you can see, I tried to clean up the areas that I could, but I really needed to leave a big open area here to access certain spots if there are problems. So let's start with the powered areas. So I used one of the old train controllers, the powered, I think it's 9-volt ones. And this actually controls the airship cannons and propellers, and the pot of blue flames are both controlled by this. The cables from each of those motors runs to here, and they're stacked on top of one another, as you can see there. And if I turn it only about one click over, it's just about the right speed to get the propellers moving. And then if we go all the way down here, you'll see the pot of blue flames going up and down. If I go a little too fast, it's too much for the flames and it's too much for the propellers. I won't go over to the front side where you can see the cannons, but they're moving as well. So this motor controls basically all the environmental things. And there's just really long extension cables running to those old power function motors there. And then there's one inside the hull of the airship. We will take a look at that a little bit later when I show the gear arrangement. Same thing with the Pot-a-Boo Flames. Now for the actual coaster mechanics, that is actually behind here. I left this open so that I could actually get in there. You'll see it's the new Bluetooth power functions that are in there. I'm using the app on the iPad to control it. That's because I wanted to use a few different functions out of the same motor and to program it accordingly. So the biggest challenge with this is that there aren't extension cables to get from the motors and the sensors to this guy, and so I'm really stretching the cable lengths, and it barely reaches some of them. It's very tricky to get my hands in there if I actually have to remove the cables. But this panel allows me to power on and off the functions, which I'll show you how those work on the front end. And just to show you a little bit of what the not so glamorous back end looks like, here you can see all of the mismatched colors of lots of Duplo. I used lots of Duplo to get the height because I had it. Right here you can see the track. This is actually where the trains come through when they go into the cave area. That's the spot where you can't see them at all. They go through there. Lots of stuff holding up all of the big mountain up in the front. Speaking of which, let's take a look at it now. Okay, let's take a look at the front. It's running, so the motor noise might be a little loud, but I'm going to show you how this works in the dispatch system mode. I don't run it this way most of the time because most of the time I like it just free running. But I had set up this system where I use the treads that are hidden behind that wall to dispatch it to the lift hill, and then as it goes to the lift hill, it runs through all of the track. When it's in this mode, I have to pop out this tire, which will help slow it down. Then once it gets back into the station, it passes this sensor. In my programming, it waits 8 seconds after it passes the sensor, and then it dispatches again. The chain turns on, the chain runs for a certain number of seconds so that it clears the top, then the chain will stop running as the coaster finishes back around, and then back through here into here for the dispatch again. So it's just kind of a loop. As I mentioned before, behind this wall there's a bunch of tank treads that are moving the Technic rod that I've got there that dispatches it and goes through. This is all running out of the USB hub, and the programming looks like this. You'll see that there's 3 different things here. In this situation, the C motor, or the C is the motor that is controlling the treads that pushes the train out. The B motor is the chain lift, and the A is attached to the sensor. The top left one here, that's if I just want to run the chain for a long period of time. I can run that and the chain will just run consistently. The top right one with the C at -25 for 20, that's if I need to readjust the bar. It just slowly moves the treads so that I can put the bar exactly where I want. Or when I have it running in free run mode, I can hide the bar back underneath behind the castle. And then the bottom layer is the programming for the dispatch system. As you can see, it starts off by simultaneously running the C motor, which pushes the train out. The B motor turns on the chain, runs for 12 seconds. Then it waits for motion at the sensor, the A motor. Once the train passes the sensor and it receives motion, then it waits 8 seconds, and then it starts the whole thing over again. So as I mentioned, I don't run it in dispatch mode very often. I kind of like running the trains consistently. So when I do that, I need to remove this tire, because the whole purpose of this tire is that as the trains pass it, it slows them down. So I've created this rod here. Actually behind the mountain, which I cannot remove to show you, there is a single piece of roller coaster track and a roller coaster car that has this tire suspended on a Technic rod so that it spins. And then I have this little knob right here that I can push in and it pushes the tire back just far enough that the trains don't rub against it as it goes by, and then they will just run freely. Now I'm going to try to show you just a little bit of where all of the mechanics are hidden in here. Okay, so I've removed some track here, so I'm not going to be running the trains right now, or else all the little minifigs would plummet to their death. But I did so that you can see a little bit better how I have some of the pieces hidden in here. So first of all, we have to take Bowser out of his domain. We'll move him over to the side here, and then underneath this tower right here is actually where all the motors are hidden. It fits in perfectly, and right there you can see the motor that actually runs the tread underneath. I've got it mounted vertically on a bunch of Technic pins inside there, and so that it runs freely. Now, one of the biggest challenges of actually doing this was making sure that the rod could swing all the way around. So as you look in here, you'll notice that there is a gap all the way around, even into the rocks over there, and all the way underneath that castle. So that whole section of the castle wall is actually suspended above it so that the rod can spin all the way around as that tread that's in there spins around. It's actually very complicated to get all the way down in there and try to repair something, so I'm not really going to pull it all apart to show you guys that, but it is basically just some tire treads mounted vertically that spins around. So that's how the coaster dispatch system works. Let's get a little bit into the Pot-O-Boo Flames and the airship so I can show you how those work. Okay, so here is my airship, and here is my airship gutted for your enjoyment. So I wanted to show you down in the hall the innards of how this works. Originally I thought I was going to drive this from a rod that would go all the way down through the mountain, and the motor would actually be behind the mountain over there, but as it turned out it was a lot easier to keep the motor in the hull. I use a real simple gear system here that kind of pushes the cannonballs in and out using these lift arms, Technic arms, moving back and forward, and then the rods go into here, and then there is a housing in here that changes the direction vertical so that it spins the propeller, and when that is attached it goes all the way up to the top, and then there's a chain at the top that spins the propellers. I have it moved out here so that you guys can see what it's working. Probably get a little bit loud. So as you turn it on, you can see it moves. Basically, it's just moving these guys forwards and backwards. They're attached right there. You can see there's Technic rods that are going in and out. Those go into the bottom of some cylinder Lego pieces that then push through in and out and move the cannonballs in and out. Such a simple effect, but it's so great. I love it when you put movement into a build. Then the rod goes over here, which then spins this guy. Right here is where the coaster actually comes through the hull. When it's in its place, over there is the rudder, which when I have it off the MOC, the rudder's too long and hangs down. So that's how I make it work. As for the Pot-O-Boo Flames going up and down, now that the MOC is finished, it's really hard to dig down in there to show it to you guys. But I did take this video while I was building it so that I could kind of just note how I made the functions work. So you can see the gear ratio going through here. Right here you can actually, as I pull it, see the motor that's controlling the chain that goes up the lift hill and the motor that's controlling the Pot-O-Boo Flames, and then the gears that go through to make them pop up and down. You know, and making this motorized sections, one of the best resources I found online was JK Brickworks. If you haven't looked him up, please do. He makes amazing motorized models, and it was really helpful for me to look at some simple motorization techniques to make these things go up and down. Also, one last thing, I did notice in this video here, you can see the vertically mounted tank treads that run the dispatch system because I hadn't completed that part of the MOC yet. So a lot of the other questions I've received have been about getting instructions, and unfortunately I made this up as I went along and did not detail all of the process to make a massive multi-volume instruction manual on how to build this MOC yourself. But one easy thing that I can do that several people have asked about is show you how to build the Mario Kart trains themselves. This is actually a very simple process that only requires a few pieces of for each car. Most most of which can be found right away. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put those instructions online, and I'm going to put a link down below where you can get not only free instructions for how to build the Mario Kart cars themselves, but you can also get the sticker that I use, so you can print out your own custom stickers to make that as you want. Now, the instructions are only to make Mario as the front car, Luigi as the second car, and then Peach as the back car. However, you can change the color scheme up any way you want so that you can build your own favorite character's car if you would like. I hope that you guys have fun doing so as much as I did. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you found some of this information helpful if you're trying to build your own big MOC or your own custom roller coaster, as I once was. Please like this video, share it with people who might be interested, and subscribe. As I continue this channel, I'm going to expand my MOC, and it's going to be a lot more in-process stuff. As you can see behind me, there's my Yoshi carousel. If you haven't checked out that video, please do. It's going to be one of the main rides in the next section of my Super Mario theme park as I expand it. And of course, if you guys have any more questions, please put them in the comments below. I'm glad to answer any that come in. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.